But we have to start, of course, by talking about the situation going on with the U.S. war in Iran. Just this morning, just minutes ago, it was confirmed that we had four more U.S. service members killed during the U.S. Bombing of Iran when a KC-135 tanker jet crashed over Iraq. The U.S. is claiming those because of a mechanical issue. There's an investigation still to come. Of course, Iran is claiming that it was shot down. We do not know the full details of what happened. There was another plane involved in the refueling incident. It was able to land safely. This brings the total death toll for U.S. service members in Iran to 12 after 8 were killed in the bombing of the base in Kuwait. 4 more killed today in the DC or KC-135 tanker crash. In addition, the Pentagon has confirmed we've had over 150 service members injured, some severely. An additional 19 were injured yesterday and transferred to Germany for additional medical care and facilities there. This war has cost upwards of $12 billion in 2 weeks. $12 billion in 2 weeks for the U.S. to execute, and there is no indication that it will be ending anytime soon. In addition, Iran, which I think many people forget, they have an army too, and they get to fight back. That's what happens when you declare war on people. They get to fight back. And they have essentially closed the Straits of Hormuz to international traffic for non-Iranian flagged ships. What does this mean? So the straits are not completely closed. If your tanker is flying an Iranian flag, then you can still get through the Straits of Hormuz. There's no blockade on those oil tankers. So Iran has actually increased their oil exports since the war began. It went from 2 million barrels a day now to 2.1 million barrels being exported to China and to their other partners in the region. This is significant because while the global markets are being choked off by the closing of the Straits of Hormuz, where nearly 20% of global oil is transported on a daily basis, well, China is still getting their oil directly from Iran. They don't have these problems. 3 more oil tankers in the Straits of Hormuz were struck either by fast attack boats, drones, and mines yesterday, essentially closing off the straits completely to international traffic. As a result, for the first time in world history, because this is now the largest market disruption in the oil industry, in the history of the oil industry, you had over 32 nations agreeing to release 400 million barrels of oil from their strategic oil reserves in order to attempt to stabilize the market until the straits can be reopened. Problem with that is Iran has no interest in reopening the straits anytime soon, and those are finite amounts. You're not going to simply find enough oil in the next 60 to 90 days to refill those reserves and to replace that 20% of global oil that is going through Iran. No, you can't just take the oil from Venezuela and use that to replace Iran because it's an entirely different type of oil. It requires an entirely different type of refining, which is going to take a decade at least to bring online through international investment and development within the region. No, we can't just up production in America. We are actually producing nearly at capacity. And indeed, Trump just greenlit the first new oil plant in nearly 30 years to be built in Texas, but that's going to take years to come online as well. So where do we go from here? Nothing good. In the short term, nothing good. The reason being that we have an administration where the person in charge is the former host of The Apprentice, the person who's in charge of the military or Secretary of Defense, or as he calls himself, the Secretary of War. Some people call him the Secretary of Kicking Ass and Getting Crunk. Pete Hegseth is the former weekend host on Fox and Friends. The reason I know that is Pete Hegseth interviewed me on Fox and Friends weekends more than one time. We used to hang out in the green room at Fox in New York. So the people in charge did not think these things through. They did not believe that Iran would actually close the Straits of Hormuz because it's a very much cut off your nose to spite your face situation. That it hurts Iran as much as it hurts the global markets, and for a regime, as they would say, that they thought was teetering on the brink of collapse, that would be the final step needed in order to cause the people to rise up. Clearly, that was a miscalculation. And now they have found themselves in a place where there is no easy solution to how to get out of this, because Iran has found a workaround where they can still export their oil to their markets and to their partners, but no one else can. And there's still another phase of escalation that can happen from here. One of Iran's proxy groups, the Houthis, are in southern Yemen. Now, if you look at a map, you can do it during the commercial break, or if you're in the car, look on your phone. You'll see that Yemen is at the mouth of the intersection between Djibouti and when you're coming out of the Suez Canal. We saw last year that the Houthis were able to nearly shut down all shipping lanes coming out of the Suez Canal through drone attacks, similarly on shipping. Iran only needs to shoot one ballistic missile towards the Suez Canal. They don't even have to hit it. If you shoot one ballistic missile towards the Suez Canal, and the Houthis are able to launch additional drone strikes on any shipping going through the Al-Badab Straits, leaving out from the Suez Canal into the Indian Ocean, well, then we will have a global choke point. Whereas not just are the Straits of Hormuz shut down, the Al-Badab Straits are shut down. The Suez Canal is shut down. You can have attacks on the ports at Djibouti, one of the most important international shipping points in the world. And you would have choked off half of the global trade. Commerce would come to a halt. Travel would come to a halt. So don't think that Iran is out of cards to play. This was not the end. This was the beginning of the end. And this is why we're seeing Trump now looking for an off-ramp. Saying, well, we already won. We ain't got nothing else to bomb. So we might as well just go ahead and find a settlement to this. But the new leader of Iran, we killed his mother. We killed his father. We killed his wife. We killed both of his sons. It is rumored that he was injured in one of the airstrikes and may have either lost a leg or even have been in a coma for a period of time. I don't know if he's going to be interested in the negotiated settlement, particularly when he holds all the cards right now. Never get into a fight and assume that you're the craziest person in a fight. Always assume the other person in that fight is crazier than you. Trump thought he was the craziest person in the fight, and now we're finding out that the people in charge of Iran are really about that action. We're going to talk more about that at the break. Call 447-266-1380, News and Talk 1380 WAOK.
News and Talk 1380